Hello everyone, I'm Paavo Järvi, the music director of Tonhalle Orchestra Zurich. Welcome to Tram for Two, a series where I take my guests on a ride through Zurich. Why is the Finnish tango so underestimated? We will find out today from my guest. Let's welcome Olli Mustonen.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Olli.
Obviously, when you go to a tram, you encounter some very strange people.
And obviously, having a Finn and Estonian in a tram in Zurich, that's already a beginning of a joke.
I think so too, yes.
You are a pianist, you are a composer, you're a conductor. How do you divide these three professions?
I guess they are just different aspects of musicianship. I love to quote Hindemith, who of course we know mostly as a great composer, but he was of course originally he played the viola, and he was a very good conductor. I don't know if you have seen
I have seen videos, and he's a really very good conductor.
Absolutely, and I think Hindemith said that he's a musician who conducts, a musician who composes, a musician who plays the viola, and I like that word very much.
That's very good.
Yeah.
If you conduct other people's music, does it influence your own composition?
First of all, I never understood the idea that if you are a contemporary composer, you could only be influenced by music that was written within the last 20 years or so. I mean, that's kind of would be ridiculous. In my case, I have the great privilege of living with the greatest music all the time as a conductor and as a pianist. And I always thought somehow the great composers from the past, they are all like great teachers. Definitely, I think Prokofiev, for example, has been a great influence to me, and as I said, like a great teacher. And I mean, I think the same goes for somebody like Bach or Ravel. In a way, a composer, either he is personal or he's not. I mean, if you don't have personality or personal handwriting, you cannot kind of pretend to have. And on the other hand, if you do have, you cannot avoid having it in a way.
How would you spend your life if you were not a musician?
I don't know if I had any talent or anything else, but since childhood I was always interested in the nature or mathematics or...
You would be a mathematician living in the forest.
Maybe.
Alone.
Yeah.
Just doing your things. There is such thing as a Finnish tango.
There is. Oh.
And I once remember being, maybe even in Turku, looking for a place to eat in the middle of the day because I had a concert at night and everything was closed. And I saw the pub and I saw maybe 10 or 15 older couples in a kind of a dark pub dancing tango.
Yes.
But it's kind of a slow Finnish tango, you know, and it was the most surreal thing that I could have ever seen. It's very touching also. It was around 3 p.m. Dark Finnish small town. Somehow I understood, or maybe thought, okay, that's why Kaurismäki's films are how they are.
There's something very touching about that, a certain seriousness and emotionality.
Do you think that it is something that just comes from Finland, or is it brought from Argentina and then?
It was, absolutely, it was brought from Argentina, but then there's like a Finnish version of it, and it became a great tradition. There are tango festivals.
Pop music, a lot of your kind of folk music, and pop music is there's tangos and accordions and stuff.
Absolutely.
About 30 years ago, we met for the first time in Bremen, and we played a concert, I remember, with Thomas Zetmaier and Steven Isernyt. And I remember we went to a restaurant with you, and you very specifically ordered beef and tomatoes.
Right.
And that was the only thing that you ate. You said beef and tomatoes. Are you still on that diet, or you have
something similar?
Your repertoire has grown since then.
My repertoire is rather concise, how would I say, with food. But with music, it is much broader.
Yeah. So you don't only have Prokofiev and Sibelius.
And which one is the beef and which one is tomato?
You know, it is a funny thing about our languages. For a Finn, I was told, and you tell me if I'm wrong, that Estonian sounds like a very old-fashioned Finnish.
Yes.
Or archaic Finnish. And for Estonians, Finnish sounds like a very old Estonian.
Yes.
So in a way, it is a kind of our languages have
Yes.
evolved in different directions, but it sounds like an old version of Estonian or old version of Finnish, and some of the words are same, and they mean different things.
That is, of course, the funniest thing about this confusion. I mean, I think one of the most famous one is the word pulm in Estonian.
Pulma, which means in Estonian it means wedding,
And in Finnish it means trouble.
and also vaimo in Estonian means ghost.
And in Finnish it means wife. Our countries are like cousins in a way. I mean, we even have the same national anthem.
Which is kind of a
And written by a German.
very strange thing. It's the same melody, different word. Which key is your?
I think it can be transposed, I have to think.
When I talked to Paavo Berglund, who was
Yes.
this famous Finnish conductor, who I'm named after, actually, he said that a perfect chorus for Kullervo would be Estonian male chorus, and I asked why. It's because their language sounds, their accent sounds like archaic Finnish. We come pretty much from a similar geographic location, and the perception from the rest of the world in Europe is that somehow it is the dark place and people are kind of introverted. Do you think it's true?
I think there's an element of truth, but it's certainly not the whole truth. And then I think it's maybe those sort of perceptions lead to big misunderstandings, for example, about Sibelius and the idea that his music is always somehow dark and gloomy. And maybe the sun is not shining, but it's very beautiful.
Well, I think there is a misunderstanding of the whole Nordic beauty, because one immediately associates something good and positive with sunshine and Mediterranean and beach and the incredible beauty of the Nordic landscape.
Absolutely.
Is something that one needs to witness and experience to understand that variety.
And actually, when you go a little bit more north, it's interesting, even where I live like 1 hour's drive north of Helsinki. Where I live, it's a little bit up some kind of hills and it's north. So it's -2 and there's snow.
And it's light and it's beautiful.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's not dark actually. When you go out and your eyes get accustomed, of course there can be northern lights, and then of course in summertime, I mean, there's no night, and it creates a very strong rhythm to the year, because winter and summer and spring and autumn, they're all very, very different. And spring and autumn, of course, there's the great spectacle of nature with the migrating birds,
Yes,
cranes,
something
and swans.
Sibelius land. Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you, Olli. It has been a big pleasure to talk to you.
I know it has been for you, but it has also been for me.
If you want to know about our next guest, please subscribe and follow us.